We do it right overseas, looking nice. Room service, if I like, I order twice. Hibachi, got the gravy on the rice. Rolling in Mexico.
Pittsburgh fans, welcome into this week's edition of the Steelers Q&A. My name is Jeremy Batts, and I'm here to answer your black and gold questions before the end of the weekend here. And it's been a good weekend. It's been a fun one. The Pittsburgh Steelers have their quarterback. Let's go. I've been talking about it for way too long. Ready to talk about him being here. Aaron Rodgers is in the fold. Waiting to talk about some other things as well. We've got a lot we can discuss that is not Aaron Rodgers related, but I think we need to get that story out of the way here. I've been harping on this way too much, constantly talking about what Aaron Rodgers would mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025 and why it's a great fit and why it makes total sense for both sides. And there just hasn't been a lot of onboarding with that. It just hasn't been. I don't know what it is. I guess it's the fatigue of not having a long-term guy that we can believe in, right? So I'm all there with fans in that regard. I'm all there with all of you guys in that regard. However, I believe that in the absence of that this year, Aaron Rodgers was your best bet to be a contender in 2025 or try to be without damaging or without hurting your ability to go after the franchise quarterback in the draft next year. So in that regard, it's a great move in my opinion. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are better for it. It's going to be a lot of fun this season. I think drama wise, we're going to have all the drama we could ask for, whether it's good or bad in 2025 with Aaron Rodgers. It's not going to be boring. So that's where I land now that it's done. I do feel a little bit sorry for Mason Rudolph. I think that he's been routinely gypped out of a chance to start in Pittsburgh, whether because, first part, it's because he hasn't proven that he can be a full-time starter in the NFL. So, that's on him, right? He needed to be better. But after that, he just never got the opportunity beyond the injury seasons for Roethlisberger to really prove that he could be something more than that, with a full season under his belt. So, I don't know. Some guys just don't ever get a chance to really prove it. And some guys don't need that chance. They just come out and prove it. Russell Wilson did it in 2012 when he took over for Matt Flynn, who was the big high-priced free agent for the Seattle Seahawks after his 6-touchdown finale in Green Bay the year prior. And everybody's like, oh, Matt Flynn's the next best thing. Well, Russell Wilson came in and he stole the show as a third-round pick in preseason, and they couldn't start anybody but him. Mason never did that. And so, a little bit different scenario because Roethlisberger was still here, but it hasn't flashed an epic, I'm going to be a future franchise quarterback for somebody type situation ever when Rudolph has stepped in. So I think that the Steelers are right to look beyond him, and we'll see how it turns out for Mason. We'll see how it turns out for Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jared Devil says, I feel bad. The stash had so much potential. I know. And the goatee before that, but it was all going away eventually. Right. And just like maybe a foreshadowing as we got closer to the time when minicamp was coming and training camp was coming, Mason Rudolph kept getting rid of some of the facial hair until he was down to just the stash. It was probably going away by the time training camp came around or the season came around. So was his starting job, unfortunately. So let's see. Let's dive into some questions. I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your questions on Rodgers and other things. So load me up with those tonight. It's just me talking to you. Let's see here. I never did get a response from anybody. That's okay. We are riding solo. We will get this done, and it's going to be a lot of fun. First question, Nick Melito. Will our O-line be able to provide the pocket AR needs to be successful? I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is the biggest question mark on the team because the variability with it is so wide. It could swing either direction. it could be really, really good. You could have young guys jumping into their designed roles, the roles they were drafted for, and they would be able to hopefully jump in and be effective plus starters. If that is the case, I think the interior of this offensive line looks pretty good. It's at least very solid, right? The interior offensive line is at least very okay. And if the tackles can turn into something good or even great, then I think you have a chance to have a really good offensive line. I think that Rodgers, at the very least, will have just as good, if not better, of an offensive line in Pittsburgh than he did with the Jets last year. And the Jets offensive line was not, it wasn't great, but it was okay, right? So Aaron Rodgers may need a little bit more than okay. I think the Steelers offensive line can be that, but we'll see. So this is a good question. It's one that we're gonna have to watch. I've said it also along with all the Rodgers talk. That's not the quarterback wasn't ever the big deal this year. The big thing to figure out, it was, how good is this offensive line going to be? Do you need to replace Broderick Jones next year? Do you need to find another guard opposite Isaac Seumalo? Do you need to replace Isaac Seumalo? Can Mason McCormick hold up? Can Zach Frazier take the next step? Is Troy Falatanu that guy on the right side? Is Broderick Jones? I mean, we've got a lot to figure out for the offensive line, and that is a way bigger issue than the quarterback ever was for 2025. So figuring that out is going to be very important. Felicia Bellard. Sorry, Felicia. I'm going to say Bellard because the E in Felicia is a 3 and the E in Bellard is a 3. Felicia has a good comment here. Mason still has a chance. AARP Aaron may not be able to get to all 17 games. That is very possible. It really is very possible. Especially if the offensive line struggles. So, Mason's here with a chance to make a play. If he gets called upon. Will Howard's going to learn from Aaron Rodgers. He's going to learn from Mason Rudolph. Those two guys are going to be good for him, I think. Seeing a high-end player coming in with the accolades and the name and Aaron Rodgers and just seeing how he operates pre-snap and all that, along with the workman-like guy of Mason Rudolph and trying to work in as a starter in the league, always working for it. That is the two-headed monster, that I think Will Howard could really benefit from. So we'll see how it plays out. But one of those two quarterbacks, Mason or Will, one of those two guys, maybe both, will have a chance this season, depending on how good the Steelers are, depending on how long Aaron Rodgers stays on the field. Oops, that was the wrong button. Okay, let's see. Frosty the Bear 69. Do they need a quick get open type of route runner at wide receiver 2 to give AR options with the tight ends as a reliable outlet? 2.5 seconds to get the ball out is quick. Absolutely. This is why I was not a huge fan of bringing in Gabe Davis, right? And eventually I was like, just do something because you need something better than what you have at wide receiver 2 right now, and he would be that for them. But I still would love it for it to be a Dontavian Wicks or a Romeo Dobbs, a guy that gets open quicker. They do need a route runner at wide receiver 2 to give AR options. They do. Aaron Rodgers needs a guy he can dump the ball off too quick when things get hot. He loves his hot reads. He loves his pre-snap adjustments, and he's going to need that guy that's a little bit different than Metcalf to make it work. So I would love if they went for something like that. Even Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper, who are still on the market. Those two guys can do that to a degree still. That would be better than what the Steelers have. So I think that that's going to be something that they look for. It would be something that I'm looking for. You got to have different types of players that can handle different situations. And for all DK's strengths as a downfield threat, vertically, in the middle of the field on digs and comebacks and crossers and things like that, as good as he is on those things, he's not a quick, twitchy guy, right? He's not. You need a route runner on this team to be able to handle those things. Robert Woods isn't that anymore. Robert Woods is an outlet receiver, like a tight end. He's slow, like a tight end. Um, the Steelers' hope for that right now is Roman Wilson. He's the only hope for that on the roster right now. Calvin Austin separates too, but at his size, it's just so hard to trust him to bring in the ball on some of those over the middle of the field stuff and some of those route running quick game stuff that you need guys who are going to be able to get hit and take some damage over the middle of the field. So I do think that they need to add that type of wide receiver to the room. I really do. After asked about the offensive line again, do you expect a big step for the interior O-line? I think I expect Zach Frazier to really establish himself as one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 centers in the league. And if that happens and Mason McCormick gets a little bit better than last year, takes a year 2 leap, that is appropriate for a 4th round pick that has a lot of college experience, but just didn't play at big enough schools to get a lot of recognition. If he can land that type of role, if he can earn that type of place and be that type of player, I think that the interior offensive line could be very, very good. Isaac Samuel is just solid. He's not super athletic, but he's just a big, strong left guard. And the Steelers could use that. I mean, honestly, the Steelers can use that this year. It doesn't have to all be athletes in the middle of the field. You just need a kind of a dog and a grinder on one side, and he's going to do that for you. So I do expect a pretty big step forward for the interior O-line. It's those tackles that I think are going to make or break the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really do. Let's see. Brian Mizwa, if we do get another playmaker, such as a wide receiver 2, how much say will Aaron Rodgers have in that decision? I think if the Steelers cannot get their hands on a guy who can be a long-term solution at wide receiver 2 to pair with DK Metcalf for multiple years, like 2 to 3 years, then I think Aaron Rodgers will have a hand in that. Because if you're just bringing in a guy to help you this year, then you need a guy who can be compatible with what Aaron Rodgers needs across from DK Metcalf. So you consult the quarterback on that. Now, is Aaron Rodgers going to come in and blow this whole thing up and say, I need my guys here and my guys there? That's not going to happen. I've been saying it over and over. That's one of the things I'm excited to see about the next few weeks, is that all the drama that has been kind of predicted or maybe even expected by some people that are fans of the team or outside looking in onlookers, I think they're going to be not disappointed, but they're going to be surprised when Aaron Rodgers doesn't do a lot of changing of the guard or roster manipulation like he did up in New York. That's just not going to happen here because I've said it over and over. Mike Tomlin's the face of this team. Aaron Rodgers is not. Cam Hayward and TJ Watt are bigger faces on this team, bigger names on this team in Pittsburgh than Aaron Rodgers is. Omar Khan is going to have more pull than Aaron Rodgers is going to have. So if they can't get a guy like a Terry McLaurin or one of these Packers receivers that they can bring in and add for a couple years, redo a contract and have on the roster for 2 to 3 years to transition into 2026 with the rookie quarterback or whatever the Steelers end up doing there, then yeah, Aaron Rodgers probably gets a bigger say in who's going to come in. But don't sit back and say, just if one of those Packers receivers comes in, that's because of Aaron Rodgers. Those guys were on the table way before they knew Aaron Rodgers was for sure coming. Same with like Alan Lazard. Alan Saunders put out a great article the other day saying, yeah, Alan Lazard might be exactly the type of player that the Steelers would want on offense because he's a big body. He can block. He does the dirty work. He's good over the middle of the field. And Rodgers has history with him. I don't think that the Steelers would go after Alan Lazard unless they had no other options for a long-term solution at wide receiver 2. But if they need just a guy for this year, then that makes some sense. Keenan Allen makes some sense. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be dictating to the Steelers who they go out and get because he's only here for 1 year. And he's here to make it a good year, but he's only here for 1 year. They're not bringing him back after 2025. So good question there. I like it. Let's see here. Frosty the Bear 69 says, I think Mac takes left guard before season ends and they need a right guard to step up. That's an interesting take. I mean, It could be. There's a world where Isaac Seumalo is not very good this year. I still think his floor is pretty high. I think he's going to be a solid player. The floor's not going to just drop out, I don't think. I think he's only 30. He may be 31, but I don't know for sure. I think that he's going to be fine. So, yeah, that's the case, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't know if this happens, but it very well could. They are trying to get a youth movement going on there. So we'll see how it goes down. Hey, Felicia, I'm glad I got it right. Ask my podcast partner of regularity on the fix and the DDP. I'm bad with names. I'm so bad pronouncing names. So I'm glad I got one right. I'm glad I could do that for you there. Okay. Steelers Nation Australia. Marky D's in the chat. Marky, what's up? Did Aaron Rodgers sign yet? Yes, he has. And I know you're really excited about it deep down. I know you are. So you can say what you want on X. You can give off the vibe that you didn't want Aaron Rodgers, but I know you're excited, Marky D. I know you're excited. All right, let's see. Okay, here's a good question from Afton. Do you think Tomlin will accept Rodgers' opinion on Roman Wilson? Will that affect who they target? Okay, so kind of hit on this already, but I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be making determinations on guys who are under contract beyond 2025. He may bring in a guy that's like a mercenary pickup for 1 year, like I was saying, that can help them this year. He may be instrumental in targeting a certain player for that, but he's not affecting their long-term plans. Roman Wilson is a part of their long-term plans. They invested a third-round pick in him. When they needed a wide receiver too. He's going to be in the plans. So Rodgers' opinion on Roman Wilson is not going to affect his playing time. It's not going to affect his growth and development. If they do bring in another receiver, it's going to be a guy who is probably going to replace some of the snaps that you're hoping Roman Wilson would take for you right now as your wide receiver too. But Roman is not a for sure thing in any category, but he's also not going to be replaced in this offense by an Aaron Rodgers pick. That's my take on it. If I'm wrong, we'll come back and discuss it later, but I don't think that happens. Yeah, Frosty the Bear 69. We said that. Yeah, Roman could be that guy. I'm sure you mentioned this before when I was trying to get that, or when I was talking about that earlier. So, Steelers Nation Australia. Aaron Rodgers is my favorite player. We know. Favorite with a U. He's definitely your favorite. He's your favorite player all time. Good stuff. Let's see if I've got any more questions here. Joseph Mijanovic. I think you told me that I've said that right before, so I'm going to just ride with that. Any idea on how Leal has looked so far this year? No idea. No idea, to be honest. Is he still on the team? No, I know he's still on the team, but no, I have not paid attention to DeMarvin Leal. I've been focused probably to my failure on other players. Because DeMarvin Leal is a player that they're going to have in the rotation probably. Now, he might not make the roster this year. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and predict it. DeMarvin Leal does not make the roster in 2025. When it's all said and done, they're making cuts to 53. We'll see. I have no idea on DeMarvin Leal. I'm so sorry. Okay. All right, Andre Green. Jeremy, what's your feelings about the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers now that Aaron Rodgers has signed a new contract? Okay, so to just break this down into like what are my expectations for this team with Aaron Rodgers under center? I expect at minimum a double-digit win season from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anything less than that is a disappointment, even if your schedule is very hard, which on paper it is very hard. And if it turns out that it's very hard, like it looks like it's going to be on paper, you should still win 10 games. Anything less than that will be a disappointment to me. But I think the ceiling is like 12 games with Aaron Rodgers under center. I'll probably land in my predictions on 11 somewhere. They'll win one they shouldn't. They'll lose one they shouldn't. So my expectations and feelings about this team are that they will be in contention for the AFC North for most of the year, with the Ravens pulling away in the end, maybe the Bengals pulling away a little bit in the end. I don't like that Bengals defense. I'll throw that out there. So I think the Steelers are at least on even par with the Bengals when you combine what the Steelers have on defense with what they hope to have on offense now, where they're going to be really good on defense and hopefully in the middle on offense. I think that's about even with a really, really good offense and a horrible defense. So we'll see how that plays out. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers specifically, sorry on that tangent there, I think that they're in contention for the division until maybe week 13 or 14. And then they probably settle into a wild card spot. And I think that they'll be extremely competitive in that wild card game. They're going to have to go through a really good team, though. I mean, let's just prepare ourselves for that right now. They're going to have to go through a really, really good team to get to the divisional round, because the wild card, the two best teams in the AFC, they don't take a break on wild card weekend anymore. Only one of them gets a break. The other one has to play. Seeds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Those guys all play. Only the one seed gets a bye. So you don't have any patty cakes. You're not walking to any patty cake stadiums like maybe you used to when the 3 and 4 seeds weren't that strong, maybe. And the two seeds, the best teams in the conference, were getting a bye week. It's not going to be as easy now getting into that divisional round. And we've seen that. We've seen the Steelers really struggle there, but I think they'll be more competitive. Aaron Rodgers' experience gives them an edge there, but let's not beat around the bush. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, maybe the Bengals end up here. Maybe the Texans end up here. Those teams, I think, are all better than Pittsburgh. So you're going to have to play one of those teams in the playoffs if you're a wild card team. You're just going to have to do it unless you can somehow win your division, get a home game. But we'll see. I think that's my take, is that there'll be a playoff team, a double-digit win team. But I don't know if they make it any further than that, because they're going to have to play really, really good teams in the playoffs. And they're not there yet. They're just not there yet. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break on the audio side. If you're listening live, obviously I'm not going anywhere. Stay tuned. We will be right back after this. All right, welcome back to the Steelers Q&A. It's Jeremy Betts here with you on Sunday night, answering your questions to close out the weekend here. We were talking about Aaron Rodgers and our expectations for the Steelers. We're talking about the wide receivers a little bit. There's some more comments about the receivers that I think are important to take in. Roman Wilson's essentially a rookie, in my opinion. Afton, I agree with you. Expectations should not be more than that. Rookie type production. Maybe you give him a bump. Like, what would you expect out of your second round rookie wide receiver, right? Because of some of the stuff that he's probably learned and the foot in the door and all that stuff that he had last year. But yeah, essentially he's a rookie. We'll see how that plays out. Vegas TJG says Roman Wilson is going to show out this year. He's a great route runner. You'll see it when he is healthy. Man, I've been telling myself, don't get pumped up about these OTA videos. Don't get pumped up about those OTA highlights, because he looks great. And I might lose it. I might not be able to help myself at minicamp if I see Aaron Rodgers darts to the outside on toe drag swag routes to Roman Wilson. Goodness gracious, help me right now. Help me right now if that's the case. Don't even show those to me. Don't send those to me. Don't at me with those. Because I will get way too excited, more than I need to be, and that's not going to be good for my health or those who follow me closely. But yes, John S., I too am excited for Wilson. Good stuff. Afton's got another question. Which second or third year guy are you most interested to see play this season? Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson's him, but Broderick Jones, man, I didn't love the pick in the draft because I just wasn't a huge fan of Broderick Jones specifically, but I thought, they kind of talked me into it after the pick, and I was like, good, they're addressing the trenches, and usually don't find elite left tackles unless you go draft them high, so you go chase a guy, you go do it. maybe you get your guy. And then, he looked okay at left tackle against the Ravens in the one appearance he had as a rookie. And then he just hasn't played left tackle again. So Broderick Jones is the guy I'm looking for. Third-year guy that I'm really, really looking for a step up from him. Need it in a bad way for Broderick Jones. Let's talk about some defensive players. Joey Porter Jr., man. Come on, Joey. What are you? What are you in the NFL? I think we've been excited for Joey. We've been like, oh, Joey's the next CB1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joey, what you doing, Joey? Are you a good player, Joey? I don't know. I need to know what Joey Porter Jr. is. I need to know what JPJ is as a player. So he's a third-year guy I'm looking at. You can talk about Corey Trice as well in that regard. Nick Herbig, what does he look like? Can he take a step forward as a pass rusher? Sorry, I'm so itchy today. My hat is driving me crazy, but my hair is a mess, so you don't want to see that. So those are the guys I'm thinking about, Afton. Those are the guys that I'm looking at this year that need a big year. If you come up with any more, throw it at me. Cold, it's art. Do you think Rodgers gave the Steelers his playbook or wait until after the physical? No. This is not what's going down in Pittsburgh this year. Okay. So if you're here thinking that's going to happen, you're at the wrong podcast, because I will not be convinced that is going to happen until it happens. It's just not going to happen. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in control. Aaron Rodgers is not in control. Aaron Rodgers will be considered. He may even get his way on a couple things that he does well, but that's what you do with anybody. It's what they did with Russ last year. It's what they did with Justin Fields last year. Nobody was complaining about that. So, sorry, Cold, it's hard. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just, in general, at the concept of Aaron Rodgers being the one to take over here, and it's like installing Nathaniel Hackett again and being the savior of the franchise. That is just not what's going to go down in Pittsburgh. Take it to the bank. John S., more touches this year, Warren or Johnson? It's going to end up being Johnson. So he's just so good. And that's nothing against Jaylen Warren, but they're two different backs. Jaylen Warren is a specialist back. If you try to play him, I'm convinced of this. So this is my opinion, obviously, but I'm convinced of this. If you try to play Jaylen Warren and give him 25 touches a game, it's just not going to work. His body can't handle that. Johnson is built for that. Caleb Johnson is built for that. Jaylen Warren is built for what Tony Pollard was getting in the late years of Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas. He is built for 10 to 15 touches a game where he can be explosive on snap 1 as he is on snap 15, or touch 1 as he is on touch 15. So that's where you maximize his potential. That's where you maximize what he can do. And how you maximize Caleb Johnson is you feed him the rock. I'm trying to come up with an analogy here. It's just not coming. You give him the rock, you give him the football, and you let him run. That's how Johnson is best used. And so I think that's how it's going to happen. So Mark Malone is Mark Malone is very, very excited about the Pittsburgh Steelers. If I'm reading this correctly. Jesus, dude, we're winning the division. He said we're winning the division. So we'll see. I like the positivity. Sorry. My words were escaping me there. Okay. Vegas TJG. Aaron threw to running backs 117 times last year, completing 90. So the running backs will get plenty of chances to shine. This is great. Arthur Smith is typically one of the best screen game designers in the league. So I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will utilize their running backs a lot. And Aaron Rodgers will check it down, and not because he can't see like Russell Wilson has been doing the last couple of years. It's because nothing's there. So get it to the running back, get your yardage. Aaron Rodgers is a smart cookie. All right. He's a smart quarterback, and he's going to play to those strengths and get those guys in. So, okay. Oh, yes, let's do it. Blackjack Novak. Djokovic fan in here? Blackjack Novak. Jeremy, predict the 7 AFC playoff teams for 2025. All right, here we go. You ready? Number 1 seed in the AFC, Buffalo Bills. They're the number 1 seed. They're primed for this year, baby. They're primed. 2 seed I'm going to give to the Ravens. 3 seeds going to Kansas City. They're playing on Wild Card Weekend. Again, and having to go on the road probably beyond that. 3 seed is the Chiefs, which you're not going to like this for later, but 3 seed is the Chiefs. The 4 seed is the Texans. They're going to win their division again pretty handily. And then the wild card teams are let's see here. The wild card teams are the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Chargers. Bengals, Steelers, Chargers. Those are the wild card teams. So, okay. So, yeah, I think the Steelers are going to go to KC based on this prediction. Maybe the Chiefs get the 4th seed. We'll give them the 4th seed, so the Steelers don't have to go to KC. Steelers go to Houston. All right? How's that sound? That sounds a little better. Jeremy predict the AFC playoff teams. I think that's got to be what it is. So, there's a few teams you can sneak in there, right? When I'm looking at the AFC South, I don't think anybody's primed for playoffs. Maybe Jacksonville, but rookie head coach, no. I've been saying that the Patriots are going to make the playoffs. Probably not. Probably not quite. There are just too many good teams in the AFC. AFC West is really good. The Broncos could be really good. The Raiders could surprise some people. That AFC East, Patriots maybe. The Dolphins maybe. But I just think those 7 teams are ahead of the curve from everybody else just a little bit. So, all right. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here and try to find some questions. Okay. Whitaker Leather says, I'm just sick of my friends who are not Steelers fans sending me AI stuff and cartoons that Aaron Rodgers of Aaron Rodgers, but I've laughed at most of them, if not all. Yes, I have too. I saw one where it was the Steelers, or Aaron Rodgers kept the Steelers from winning the Super Bowl in 2010, and he's the one that's going to do it again in 2025. That one was kind of funny, painful but funny, but it's probably true as well. So, yeah, I agree. Like, you guys can stop sending those now. I get it. I get it. Okay. Troy Donnerberg. Great last name there, Troy. I love it. Thanks for tuning in, man. Even with the recent contract extension, do you think Tomlin really wants a couple of years of rebuild after this season? He may be half out the door. No, I don't think so. I think Tomlin is loving it. I think Tomlin is ready for this. I think he's ready for one last shot with a rookie quarterback. Should he get that? That's a bigger question than whether he is going to take it. I was of the opinion that, with the Pickett thing and after last year, it would have been fine to move on. Then you bring in your bridge guy into Aaron Rodgers this year, and you have your new head coach already in place for a year, and then you let that new head coach bring in the quarterback. But since the Steelers elected to let Mike Tomlin stay in, and I'm behind that too, I think it's a reasonable move. It's not like it was a bad move by them to bring him back, right? I think it would have been a better move to maybe move on, but the fact that he's still here, it's because he's a good coach. He gets a high floor out of all of his teams. He wins games he shouldn't with bad offenses and all that good stuff. So if we want to go on a Tomlin kick here, we can for a second. But to say that he's half out the door, I just don't feel that. I feel like he's ready for one more shot with a rookie quarter or with a young quarterback that's potentially the face of the franchise to see if he can put together a whole team that is Super Bowl competitive again. And if that one doesn't work, then he's definitely gone. I've been saying that the Steelers are kind of like on a 2027 timeline here. They're on a Mike Tomlin timeline. His contract ends after the 2027 season. So you got 2025 with Aaron Rodgers. You push as hard as you can to get as far as you can with Aaron Rodgers. And you do so knowing that you've got 12 picks next year to go get the franchise quarterback and draft him early. Doesn't work out this year. You don't make it to an AFC championship or whatever. You start over with the young guy. You get his rookie year to get his feet wet and get him NFL ready, and you build out the rest of the roster, and then 2027 is freaking go time. It is go time. You put it all together. You've got the quarterback now. That defense has some retooling in it. That's why I think they should give TJ Watt his contract so he's here for 2027. And you go gung-ho after a Super Bowl in 2027. You give it everything you've got, because if you don't make it to an AFC championship game in 2027, then Mike Tomlin's gone. Should be. If you make it to the divisional round, but you get skunked in the divisional round, no way. You better lose on the last play of regulation in the divisional round. Or you better make it to an AFC championship game. That's what Mike Tomlin's there for. I believe Art Rooney believes that Mike Tomlin is the quarterback away, probably, from getting the Steelers back to title contention. And if he can't do that by 2027, it's over. That's my take on it. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe they give him a 1-year extension after the 2026 season if it looks like that the quarterback might be the type of guy that you can roll with beyond that. Whew. This was a fun show. Great questions. Good conversation. I mean, I've done all the sorry, let me get this one from John S. Will the leash be short on Terrell Austin? Any chance he gets the Matt Canada treatment if things don't go well? I don't think so, because I think Tomlin's hand is in the defense enough that it would look bad for Mike Tomlin to fire Terrell Austin if the defense sucks this year. If the defense sucks this year, then maybe Mike Tomlin should go before the rookie quarterback thing happens. So to go back with Troy's thought, maybe he should. If the defense stinks this year and the Steelers go like 7-10, yeah, maybe you do kick Tomlin out the door and restart everything for 2026. Maybe that's how it goes. Maybe Rodgers is the iceberg that this Titanic needs to totally crash if the defense really stinks. I don't think it's going to happen, but just food for thought there. So I don't think Terrell Austin's on that short a leash. I think he gets all of this season, and I can't remember if his contract's up after. I think his contract's up after this year. So if that is the case, then, and the Steelers don't feel like a top 10 unit or something like that, maybe it's just okay. The Steelers could try to move on and get a guy who can really change things up on defense and make the pass rush great again. Make the pass rush great again. That's what needs to happen in Pittsburgh, because the secondary's been a little bit better. They've been kind of circulating through players, and they've still been competitive back there. They haven't had a nickel cornerback, a true starting nickel cornerback, for like 5 years now, and they're always good back there. So, or okay back there at the very least. They get more out of their players than maybe those players are worth. Minkah Fitzpatrick helps out with that, but Terrell Austin gets a lot out of the secondary. He doesn't get a lot out of the front. Keith Butler got a lot out of that front, and TJ Watt's greatness gets a lot out of the front too. But maybe you need a guy who can come in and really build those guys and get them where they need to go. Terrell Austin's leash is probably as long as 2025 and as short as however or whatever day 2025 season ends for Pittsburgh. All right, guys, fun stuff. I think it's been a great conversation. I think that we need to keep our positivity up for the Steelers this year. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be fun. I don't think they're winning the division, but I think they're going to be close to. They're going to be in that wild card hunt all year. They're going to be in contention for the division for most of the year, kind of like they were last year, before maybe falling back a little bit because the other teams are just better. So I don't know. I think I've got a pretty objective outlook on this team this year. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not all, it's not all, roses for me for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Aaron Rodgers comes with some variability as far as, is he washed or does he still have something left in the tank? I just don't see all the baggage coming along with it. I think that the Steelers aren't one of the AFC's elite roster wise. They're definitely not quarterback wise, so I don't think they can hang with some of those elites. But other than that, I think they're going to be good like they have been, right? And if they're not good like they have been, then something went desperately wrong, and maybe it's time for a reset across the board. The Steelers are going to be resetting on offense and at quarterback after the season anyway, so we'll see how it plays out. And I'll be here for all of it. The Steel Curtain Network will be here for all of it. Fans for Sports Network will be here for all of it. Stay tuned to all of this stuff, and we will keep you posted on all things Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure to tune in for all the recaps and updates from Minicamp this next week. Aaron Rodgers' first time on the field as a Pittsburgh Steeler. This is where things get serious, right? Before a long break, yes, but this is a serious 3 days on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we need to see some good stuff. And I think we will. So keep your hopes up, and we will talk to you next time here on the Steelers Q&A. Hope you guys have a great week ahead.